We're used to superheroes being in control of their environments and most of the time even their enemies, but sometimes they show that somewhere deep down, they're just like the rest of us. Here are the top 10 most embarrassing superhero moments. At number 10, we have the time when Mary Marvel literally uses Green Lantern as a weapon to beat up Troia. In Final Crisis number 3, an evil Mary Marvel is on a rampage, trying to take out both Green Lantern and Troia, a magical mirror duplicate of Wonder Woman. When Mary gets the jump on Green Lantern, we assume that's it for him and that she'll just move on to Troia. But no, for some reason, the enraged former hero takes Green Lantern by the leg and just starts slamming his whole body against Troia, taking her out in the process. I feel badly for Green Lantern here. I mean, he was already unconscious, so why did you have to Looney Tunes him like that? Okay. At number 9 is the time when the Wasp falls out of a tree after breaking a branch by accident. Back in the Silver Age, the female heroes were still in desperate need of updates. In this instance, the Wasp, one of the founding members of the Avengers, just flees a fight because back then she wouldn't have helped much, I guess, with the male writers in charge, and goes off to find a male hero to fix the conflict. But on her humble mission, she starts getting chased by a bird while she's in Wasp form. The bird chases her into a tree and forces her to change back into her human form to avoid getting eaten. But what she doesn't account for is that the branch in the tree isn't strong enough to hold her human body weight, so it breaks, and she falls and gets knocked unconscious. Too many dudes in the writer's room. At number 8 is the time when Robin gets trapped in a binding of hurdles and just gives up. Just around the 1964 Olympics, Diablo is attempting to sabotage the games, and the Teen Titans are called to go and prevent this from happening. They seem to be mostly successful until one of Diablo's henchmen throws a bunch of hurdles at Robin like they're hula hoops, and this traps him. So he yells out, "I'm ringed," and kind of just gives in. Even though it looks as though the hurdles are gonna eventually fall to his feet in a pile, allowing him to sort of step out and keep fighting. Kind of weird writing, but definitely embarrassing for the boy wonder who usually seems to keep his composure in sticky situations. At number 7 is the time when the Avengers get sent up in a pressurized elevator by Mole Man. While they're facing off against Mole Man down below Earth in his underground lair, things seem to be going well for the Avengers. I mean, obviously they would be, right? It's all the Avengers versus Mole Man. But what's weird and super embarrassing is that right when they seem like they're getting the upper hand, Mole Man tricks them into entering his pressurized elevator and then just sends them back up to the surface. The weirdest part is that when they get to the top, they don't even question whether or not they should go back down. They just kind of accept it as a win for themselves and move on, even though Mole Man wasn't quite defeated. So this is either a super embarrassing moment for the Avengers, or the writer's mom called him for supper and he had to wrap things up really quickly, suddenly. Either way, it deserves a spot on this list. All right, at number 6 is the time when Spider-Man punches himself in the face while facing off against Spot. Spot is a strange villain who has these portals all over his body which transport anything that enters them to exit out of another one of the holes also on his body. Did I explain that well? Anyway, Spider-Man goes for a punch in the gut on Spot, but his arm naturally enters a hole in his chest and pops out of the hole in Spot's face. This takes the full force of Spidey's punch and sends it flying right back for his own face, getting him right in the nose full force. Spider-Man is known to take humiliation with a grain of salt, given his fun, carefree philosophy, but it's still a funny and pretty embarrassing thing to see one of the more competent heroes facing in such a serious battle. At number 5 is the time when the Green Lantern gets neck chopped by Robin and almost dies. In All-Star Batman and Robin number 9, Green Lantern is lured into a room by Batman and Robin. But what makes this trap really effective against Green Lantern is that it's painted yellow, and the Green Lantern's power ring doesn't work against yellow things, apparently. So, at a huge disadvantage, Green Lantern is stuck, and Robin basically steals the ring right off his finger. Not Batman, Robin does this. a teenager who's basically only been a superhero for a week or so by this point. And it doesn't even end there. Robin then throat chops the Green Lantern so hard that he almost dies, and Batman has to perform a tracheotomy on their defeated foe. It's almost like Robin went a little too hard on this one. Batman's like, okay, whoa, you got him, hold on. Let me save this dude's life with a surgical procedure now. Poor Green Lantern. His life is saved, which is good, but not his dignity, at least not for a while. Okay, at number 4 is a fun one. It's the time when Eminem, yes, Eminem the rapper, beats up the Punisher and then shoots him a bunch of times. In Eminem / Punisher #1, a comic book series I had no idea existed, but I'm so glad it does, Frank Castle is taking on a group of mobsters as usual when famous rapper Marshall Mathers appears out of nowhere and clocks him in the face with a Glock. He then starts firing rounds into the Punisher as he remarks at how easy it was to take down an anti-hero such as the Punisher. This is undoubtedly a hilarious encounter and probably a bit biased in favor of Eminem, because who's gonna write a comic book with Eminem's blessing and then have him be the one who gets his ass handed to him, right? It's sort of a meme moment, I think, but it's still part of the canon, so it happened. The Punisher survives, by the way, but he's gonna feel that one for a while. At number 3 is a very strange one, when Captain America dresses up as an old lady to infiltrate Nazi Germany. In this older issue, Steve and Bucky are trying to enter Nazi Germany undetected, so they decide to get into disguises. Bucky is dressed as a young schoolboy while Cap throws on a corset and a wig and takes on an old woman persona. This plan is so dumb and not really like anything that Captain America ever did before this or has ever done since this. I think this was a time when these stories still had room for goofy, fun moments and heroes weren't being taken quite as seriously as they are today. Because these days, this sort of harebrained scheme wouldn't make it past the draft phase before being thrown out. I'm not sure if this is an embarrassing moment for Captain America or for the writers, but it's embarrassing for sure. Maybe embarrassing for both of them. At number 2 is another Spider-Man fail, but this one is closer to the top of the list because it's just a lot more humiliating than the punch to his own face. In this one, he's hit in the gonads with a slingshot during a live stream. In Superior Spider-Man #6, a version of Spider-Man is chasing down Screwball, a villain that's obsessed with the internet, as well as Jester, Marvel's knockoff Joker. Finally, as Spider-Man is encountering Jester and Screwball, the battle is being live streamed for the world to see. As everyone's waiting in anticipation for Spidey's typical one-liners and quick quips, they get something else instead. After Spider-Man accidentally punches Screwball in the chest, he feels badly, apologizing for the unfortunate accident. But in this already unfortunate situation is right when Jester charges up a slingshot and fires it right at Spidey's downstairs region for the world to see. And then they throw a bunch of paint-filled balloons at his face, which just sorta adds insult to injury. Brutal. Finally, at number 1 is another hit to the groin that's somehow even crazier than this one that I just described. It's when the Punisher shoots off Wolverine's nether region entirely with a shotgun. As the Punisher and Wolverine catch each other on basically the same mission, the Punisher decides that he wants to work alone without distractions. So, being the Punisher that he is, he decides he needs to do some more punishing and takes a shot at the coveted hero's no-no zone. I'm really running out of child-friendly terms here, but we know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, the Punisher then gets into a freaking steamroller and runs Wolverine over. I'm thinking like, where was the fight in you, Logan? He absolutely took you to church on this one. So embarrassing. Tough to watch. Okay, that was the list. Did you agree, disagree? Leave it all down below in the comments and let me know what you thought of this list. I've been your host, Ben Ball, and this has been Top 10 Nerd. Use social media responsibly, but if you'd like, you can follow me on Instagram and Top 10 Nerd on Facebook because we're on there if you still are. See you next time and stay nerdy.